a really big mop head. So I thought we probably need to thin them. I don't think they've really been thinned since I've been here for 4 years. Last year they got a pretty good shape pruning, and I thought that would help a bit, but I think maybe we need to thin them.
Yeah, and
there's still a lot of blooms on them.
Yeah, and we'll take a look, because these ones here look, this looks pretty thin. And,
yes, and that one looks like a good example,
yeah,
because the heads on it are big.
Yeah, so
most of them have been these little bitty tiny things.
Yeah, so we've obviously had this kind of push for summer blooms, which is looking really good right now. But first of all, in the spring, we did cover all of these late winter when we had that last frost. All of the hydrangeas got covered, and that really helped, because I noticed around town there was a lot of those buds that got frozen in that late frost. So we really helped ourselves there, but the blooms weren't huge on these. So what we're going to look at today is, one, if there's any dead wood on the center. So you see in here, if there's any dead wood, we're going to remove that back to the point of origin, because we don't need that, and that's just going to help with airflow through here. You can see we've got a little bit of brown spot on these as well. So start off with any of that dead wood, removing that. If the whole stem's dead, just cut it all the way down to the ground, and then we will start looking at reduction on height. So there's a couple of ways that you can treat these hydrangeas. And
pink flower or a purple flower, and if you don't want that, just be aware of that.
So with starting with removing some of this dead wood in the middle, it kind of lets me know what I'm working with on the top, because sometimes you'll see those stems sticking out at the top and they're actually not, you don't even worry about those because they're dead. So doing the reduction first of any dead material in the middle will help you understand what you're going to prune on the top. So, and there may be some big pieces that you're going to have to take out to get the height that we're looking for. Like here, I'm going to remove this whole piece, and it's pretty woody, but there's 2 stems off of this that I will have a much better node to cut back to get to the height that I want. So it looks a little drastic, but we need to get them to the height that we want so the guests don't feel like they're being attacked when they're walking down the path.
Yeah. And it also gives you a better view of the plants behind it too. So think about those gardenias back there. When these are so tall, the guests start seeing the blooms on those.
And it's cut above the node, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's looking better already, isn't it?
There may be some thin pieces right on the top on this one, because it was really big.
Yeah, gotten a little out of control there.
Did you put the rooting compound on and then put it in water, or just in water?
You can do one or the other.
One or the other, that's what I thought.
Until I did training, I had no idea, so I stuck stuff in water, and if it got roots, great. If it didn't, then...
And all plants are different. Some do water rooting just great. Others do not. And I've heard people say, even though some people are the philosophy, even if something can root in water, those roots aren't as strong as if it starts out in soil. So then you've got the next step that there could be a possible failure from one to the other. So there's some people that just prefer to go straight to the rooting compound.
So what kind of soil would you use
to
root?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the recommendation is with any of these is to make sure that it's well draining.
Yeah.
That if it gets too waterlogged, then there's another problem where they could die back. Now, when we did this in July, I feel like because it was so hot, we probably would have done better with having a little more moisture retention. And I think that the soil we used drained too much for that time of year. So it kind of depends on where you're going to root them and where they're going to be. Now, we obviously didn't put them in the greenhouse because it was way too hot in there. We had them outside.
So now I've got it to roughly the height that I want. Then I'm going to do a little bit more reduction on kind of some of the ends. Like here, this looks pretty ugly. So if I can hide some of these cuts behind some of these leaves that have a node on them, these have already got buds on them that will start forming leaves. I'm going to cut it down so that it's hidden behind this top. Same here. This has just got this one leaf on it. Kind of looks ugly. I'm going to cut this one down a little bit lower though. And then the cut pieces are hidden behind the mass of foliage. And then it doesn't look quite so drastic.
It actually looks pretty good.
It does.
Yes.
Doesn't look as bare as I thought it would be.
I would never have cut it back.
There was a lot.
Yeah. What about all this? Because when you have all these little guys that are all
Yeah.
over, would you cut those off
So
too?
no, what?
What do you do with
So
those?
there's obviously some dead pieces on here.
Right.
I'm going to remove those. That one may be too close to the edge of the path. What we don't want to happen is the inside of this get really thin and then all the blooms and the leaves be up here. We would rather have leaves and blooms all the way down, so we don't want to do any thinning and remove all of this side shoot material, because then when they bloom it's full and it comes all the way down, rather than looking like a Q-tip or something where just all the blooms are on the top. So we want to leave as much of the side as we can to get kind of that full layer of blooms all the way down the face.
Now at home, my mind's gone blank. When you at home,
Pam.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm typing.
Thank you.
No,
I
I'm
could not-
typing about this.
Yes, I know. So I could not remember your name, and I'm sorry.
Yes.
So at home, like that thing that he took off,
Yes.
you could lay that in
Okay.
and put a little soil on
Right.
it so that it would continue to grow out.
Correct.
So,
Okay.
so those kind of runners kind of help spread the plant.
Yeah, and
Okay.
you may see that as you work through here. So it's a commonly used propagation technique called layering. Any of those side shoots that lay down on the ground, you just cover them up with soil for a year, and then they will
I've
actually
been
root
cutting them
themselves,
off,
and then you
okay.
can cut them off of the plant, and you've got a whole new plant.
Yeah.
Hydrangeas work really well with that. Even with azaleas, they work well doing that. Roses, lots of plants. The green industry will do that as one of their major propagating techniques.
So it can spread your plant out further, or as you said, you got it rooted and you can cut that off and now you've got roots and you can go plant that. Okay.
So August is a good time to prune these.
Yep.
So with any blooming plant, you know, you want to prune it after it's finished blooming. Now we've got a little
Right.
extra here. The same with azaleas when they finish blooming. So
Right.
that's going to tell you the time of year, is it spring or fall?
And it's a shame to cut some of these blooms off, but we really want a good show for the spring, and we've got to make a little bit of sacrifice now to get those blooms for the spring, and make sure that the plants are in a good height as well, because if we just keep on letting these grow, they're going to look completely out of scale for this garden space.
And can you repeat again how you got the bigger flower instead of the smaller ones here?
Yeah, so some of that's from, so pruning it is going to help, fertilization, but making sure when, it seems to be a pattern the last few years that we've had a late frost. When we have that late frost, the buds have already started emerging on these hydrangeas, and if you don't cover them up, those buds will get frozen and then you won't have any blooms for the spring show. So, and the other big problem that people have with these macro hydrangeas is they will cut them all the way down to the ground in the winter when they're doing a garden cleanup, and then they'll wonder why they haven't bloomed. Or they won't bloom because that's all new growth that they're growing. So it will look like this, and you'll have loads of foliage, but you won't have any blooms because they only bloom on old wood. So this is 1 year's growth of wood. Obviously this is a little longer. This is one year. This is probably like 3 or 4 years here.
Does the amount of sunlight have some effect on the size of the blooms?
Yeah, it does. They obviously like to be in shade, and they will tolerate some sun. They won't tolerate afternoon sun because it's just so hot here. But in this location, we really don't get a whole lot of sun. It's a shady garden space, and they're thriving here. But fertilization, water, and just making sure that those blooms get protected from that late frost.
And why do they call these macro hydrangeas?
So these are macro. It's just different. It's just a different kind. So you've got the macro. You've got like the Annabelle, like pinnacle, and then you've got the lace caps as well.
How do you know what kind you have? Like for instance, I got a hydrangea for my kitchen table for Easter one year. I took that and it's growing outside. How do I know what that is? I know it goes on old wood.
Okay, so this is a macro hydrangea, and that's kind of a broad term. So there you'll have all different cultivars within that macro category. So you'll have there's like the Big Easy, there's Bobo, there's lots of different colors and different sizes of flower heads as well. The macro is just kind of the common term. I don't know what all of these ones are in here, and I think there may be some lace caps at the other end, but they will have a different style of bloom. The pinnacle hydrangeas have a different leaf shape, have a different bloom as well. And if you use something like Little Lime, like we have over on the flowering border, they will take full sun. So obviously these will not.
So what ones do you think they use when they give them out for Easter?
A lot of them are these macros, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And macro also, I think, refers to the leaf size, how big these leaves get, and the mop head can get big. So back to your other thing about how do you modify the head. So this one, before, we didn't really have to do much to it. It was thinned out pretty well. And because there wasn't a lot of stems on here, you can see the heads are bigger. Over here, where they hadn't been thinned out, there's a ton of stems, and they just have small flowers. So that's another way you can control the size of the flower you get, is this whole thinning process. It's like a fruit tree, you know. You have to sacrifice some of the branches to get really good amounts of decent size.
I never did mine. I was afraid, and I knew it grew on old wood, and so I didn't touch it until it started growing in summer, and then I would cut some of the dead wood out. And you forget about the airiness and all that. So thank you.
Yeah.
The lace caps, do they fall within the same pruning category?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
oak wood.
Yeah, and so the pinnacles, no, they will bloom on new wood. So like if you've got like the Little Lime that are over, Limelight, anything like that, you can cut those almost down to the ground and they will bloom on new wood. So different to this. Okay.
That was good. Thank you.
You guys ready to get in there and tear them up? Yeah.
Snip, snip. I was.
I
I know,
We can just spread out.